Kansas City has several examples of beautiful Art Deco terracotta. The bright colors are all ceramic glazes on clay that's been carved and then glazed with these pinks and yellows and blues and purples and oranges. In addition, the beige colored blocks are also made out of clay to simulate stone, and that was very common in the early part of the 20th century. And it really took me a while to understand that it was clay. I always thought it was painted stone. It was really important to me in my development as an artist because suddenly a whole new world of possibilities in ceramics was opened to me. They have one scene on one side and another scene on the other side.
Oh, okay.
It's completely different, but there's some sort of relationship in his mind conceptually. Now, I know that you're talking about this whole idea of the metaphor of the bull in the china shop. Mm-hmm. And so is he actually going to be kind of sitting on a dining room table? The Kansas City Art Institute is coming up to its 125th anniversary in 2010. It was really when Ken Ferguson came to the Kansas City Art Institute that ceramics became its own department. From 1971 until 1996, Ken, George, and Victor were the three professors in the department. And the three of them built a really, really important and wonderful department.
There was a nice cross, kind of mix, of information pouring into the department. The students, I think, ended up, along with the faculty, in some kind of a soup to which flavors were being added to every time, and it got richer and richer and more complex. They were artists, and they were here to find out why.
I had a question, please. I've been here for a fair amount of years. I think I'm starting my 37th year here. I am here, my colleagues are here for the students because they're damn interesting kids. You're always going to be mating these pieces together in this case. It's a wonderful opportunity to take a student through process, but at the same time, they have to have some sort of intellectual connection, passion, and they have to be able to take things farther. I mean, I'm going to challenge you, though, really to stick with it. Okay. So you got an idea, but it's complex. I don't want you to walk away from that, because I think you can work both ways. You're a sharp enough guy.
Okay. This little guy was actually found in a tomb in Egypt, and he was left in there. It was one of the workers, presumably, that, they locked them in, and so they, perished there in the tomb.
A lot of times, especially when you're first working with clay, things will look really beautiful on the green state and then you fire them and they're less exciting. This is exciting because I think it's more beautiful in the fired state. I've enjoyed working with Barrett. She has been very affected by death of family members, and she's trying to understand the mystery of death through what happens to the remains to our bodies.
I'm going to be doing 3 of these larger figures, eventually moving to life size.
I think it'll be more powerful the larger that we go.
But what's interesting to me is the way it seems to be now is like a small animal. Mm-hmm. Like a raccoon or a possum or something like that.
I mean, the Egyptians even mummified their pets, so I thought about going that route as well.
Really? I didn't know they mummified their pets.
Yeah, they mummified their pets a lot of times.
Maybe I'll do that with my cat.
I'm kind of setting up an interior structure for my plaster to kind of flow on.
It is a constant challenge to balance teaching and working in the studio. But what I try to do is just get down here, and what I find is that even if I'm tired, if I start working, the clay revitalizes me. This kind of activity, pressing the tiles, is a very good meditative kind of activity that helps me think about what it is that I want to do. This work goes into these pieces that are like large, I call them honeycomb mosaics, and they go together in these horizontal kind of compositions. I want people to be enticed to touch them and to want to move them around. I want them to be extremely luscious and very sensual, and that seems to draw my audience to the pieces.
I do love the tiny detail and the precious and the things like that. And then I also just like to bang out a bunch of pieces as well. So I kind of have a split personality in that way.
Nikki Lewis was a student of mine, and George Timmock and Victor Babu. You could tell when Nikki was a student that she was going to be one of the people that would go on and continue to work with clay.
When I came here, I didn't know what was expected of me. And then slowly, I really learned, I guess, how to be an artist, which means that you're an artist all the time. You're not an artist from 9 to 5. We are in the Ken Ferguson Teaching Collection room with cabinets full of the collection that Kansas City has collected over nearly 60 years of being the epicenter of ceramics in our country. This is an incredible, incredible bowl by an artist named Jim Makins. We would stare at this piece for hours. The fineness and thinness of the way that this was thrown and the beauty of the lip. I love to touch it. I love to feel my fingers in the throwing lines that his fingers made when he was here. There's 2 pictures in this cabinet that are made by a woman in Iowa named Cary Esser. They are so beautiful. She's thrown it so thin, yet it feels incredibly sturdy. I could carry it like this and be completely confident that I wouldn't drop it. Her skill is so, so profound. And just the simplest decoration, just black and white hugging each other. It's just that beautiful little dance of the glaze there.
Thinking of texture, I see some really nice stitching going on. Can you tell me what's going on?
The stitching symbolizes a recovery process. Soldiers get injured and tend to have stitches.
Yeah. Paul has a real political bent to his work and his thinking. The assignment was to find an object in the museum to work off of, and he is working with St. Michael expelling the rebel angels and connecting that to the American military in Iraq. When something is stitched, there's a tension, there's a pulling.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't feel that here. To be honest, compared to the way that I've seen you like really handle clay, it seems a little bit on the timid side.
Okay.
And I don't want to suggest exactly where for you to take it, because I want you to think about that for yourself, but that's something that I think can be much more powerful in this piece. If someone has a strong reaction against it, are you going to be, ready to talk to them?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's like how you're going to.
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying to put it out there so that people could see it.
Okay. All right. What we have here are smaller examples of the larger piece that I was working on. So this is the object. Kind of see through the piece, and then it just kind of sits flush back onto the wall.
When you are done with school, you are sort of plopped out into the art world and you're told to sort of figure it out. In my case, I looked in the yellow pages. I called up every ceramic studio in the city. But my other piece of advice to somebody who's doing this is to try and have fun, you know, while you're making stuff, because what's the point of being an artist unless you're gonna have a good time?
Culture doesn't really beg people to pursue a career in the arts. I think you just decide every single day, you know, when you wake up, you just decide you're gonna do it. Because there's so many reasons not to do it. Every time that you go into the studio and you make something, every hour that you spend there is what keeps you moving on to the next hour.